Hey, this is Damian Ross from the Self-Defense Company, along with George Hutchings, head of our instructor development, and this is our Self-Defense 101 presentation.
How's it going, guys? So for Self-Defense 101, the important thing to discuss is street smarts and principles that are going to keep you safe and help you, obviously make it home to your loved ones.
Now,
So,
like all self-defense starts with this. These are things you can do immediately. You don't need any real tactical training to do it. It's really how you're interacting with your environment. It's how you're going to present yourself to the world. I mean, really simple things. You don't need to go spend time in a class other than this to do it. You're going to walk away with some actionable skills that you can implement immediately upon leaving this class.
that's correct. So, guys, understand that there's 3 phases of self-defense. Just like life, everything has a beginning, a middle, and an end. The unfortunate thing is most self-defense instructors or systems that are out there focus just on in-fight. Something has already happened, so now you are having to deal with it. You've been grabbed this way, so do this technique. Or somebody's got a knife against your throat, you do this. What we do here at the Self-Defense Company is obviously we cover that, but we also cover pre-fight, what happens before, the skills that are needed, as well as post-fight skills after.
Pre-fight is really everything. I mean, this is,
Correct.
without, again, they're making the assumption when you're typically training, and because martial arts are competition and conflict based, where it's always assumed your attacker is going to attack you. It's always assumed he's going to, attack in this manner, and they're skipping right past the most important part, which is the pre-fight. You're going to get every attacker and every decision that's ever made on the planet is based on a risk versus reward calculation. So they're going to look at you, and we'll get into this numerous times, and do their calculus, and they're going to think, does this person have something I want? And can I get them from them relatively easy without being caught, identified, or injured? So they're going to stalk you, and they're going to size you up and see if you're a good target. And if they can get you alone, if they can get close to you, and if they can impose their will on you with minimal resistance whatsoever. I mean, look, if they were thinking that you were going to be a hard target, or they were going to want to get a fight, nobody got into, like if it's a criminal enterprise where they're looking to, rob you or strong arm you, they're not expecting resistance. If they did, they would either pick somebody else or choose a method that would automatically combat your resistance. And most of them aren't, because most of them, it's a predator-prey relationship. It is not a competitive relationship. So martial arts is a competitive relationship. We go in, we compete at a predetermined time under a specific set of rules designed for safety. Self-defense is predator-prey. They're looking for the easiest meal with the least amount of effort possible. So as soon as they see that, and as soon as they feel that's going to be an issue, they're going to switch off and simply go to someone else. So people don't appear in a puff of smoke. People don't automatically come up to you and say, stick them up. They've been watching you. They've been sizing you up. And if you are not paying attention into that pre-fight mindset, the in-fight is going to be extremely difficult. So most of what you can do is, protect yourself is in that pre-fight situation. And then, of course, the post-fight, what do you do after? Not only medical attention, but, how are you handling it stress-wise? We have to also think about how, you appear if, for instance, you have to appear before a judge and jury. What are you doing to prepare yourself after the fact? Let's say somebody, assaults you, and then you defend yourself and you injure them. Okay, next thing you know, you're being brought up for charges on assault. It can happen. It happens every day. So what are you doing to, prepare yourself and prepare your case after the fight?
So let's talk about, why we study self-protection, why it's so important. And I mean, the most common thing that we're going to deal with and talk about is a street assault. So what makes up a street assault? First of all, a street assault is defined as any kind of physical confrontation that occurs outside of the home, whether it's by a known or unknown subject, it doesn't matter. And what we're going to look at is we're going to look at what makes up a street assault, the common characteristics. So the very first thing that we look at is how it happens. It's only going to happen one of two ways. Either you're going to be ambushed where you just don't see it coming, or there's going to be some kind of interview, some kind of dialogue. Damian, you did an article about it on fronting. So
Yes.
we've sent that out to all of you guys.
Right. It's all about getting into your personal space. They need to close the distance. In order for anybody to impose their will on you, they have to get close to you. So they're either going to use the environment, which we're talking about the ambush, where they would be hiding from a secreted area and then appear next to you. The other thing they're going to do is that they're going to interview or affront, and that's going to be asking for change, appearing in distress, one thing or another. Most times they're going to appear that they need help because that makes them look vulnerable and less threatening. And then they're going to get close to you, and then eventually they'll work into it. Like they're testing you. They may ask for change. They may ask for a bit more money. They may ask for $5 or $10. Everything is a test to see how far they can push you and to see how much you're going to resist. Once you understand that, and then you have the confidence to shut them down, that closes off a lot of things.
I always say to everybody, this is an interview that you want to fail, right?
Right.
Next characteristic that we look at is the proximity. It's going to be close range. I like to kind of talk about it from two ranges, either handshake range, where you can reach out, shake a person's hand, reach out and touch them. It's about where 98% of all human interaction actually takes place. And then the other range is just right in your face or extreme close quarters.
Right.
So,
I mean, that's really it. I mean, it's really close range. I mean, if they're far enough away where they have to shift their weight to get, to touch you, you have a good opportunity to escape. So unless they're, holding you close with a weapon, even though we talk about that, and even if somebody pulled a knife on you or a firearm, I mean, just hightailing it out of there solves a lot of your problems. But knowing that you can do that, again, is empowering in itself. There again, we're talking about situations where a lot of this, things fail. By the time somebody gets to you and puts their hands on you, a lot of things have failed. I mean, if it's the case of sexual assault, yeah, you know who the predator is, you know who your attacker is, so that's familiarity, and that's going to happen. So, but understanding that even any resistance is a high likelihood that you will be successful. I think it's almost like 90%. So anyway, everything is going to be, in that close range. I mean, they can't yell from you, in a parking, across a parking lot. Hey, George, I like everything in your wallet. No, it just doesn't happen like that. So, be prepared. They're going to they need to close the distance on you. So this is very important for you to understand, because if you can control your personal space, you can control a lot of what's going to happen to you.
That's right. Next, this event is going to be completely non-consensual. And I think this is one of the most important things, especially when we talk about combat sports and martial arts that, claim that they teach self-defense. And even though they teach tactics and principles that do fall in line with self-defense, this is the part that's left out the most. Your training partners in the gym, they're trying to make you better. They're not trying to kill you. The end of the day on the street, you don't want to fight somebody. You don't want to engage. You just want to get home to your loved ones. This makes it a completely non-consensual event that we're talking about here.
Look, they choose the time and the place. So martial arts and combat sports, it's, you have a set time, place, rules that are designed for safety. Right now, you're going to be targeted when you're older, when you're weaker, when you appear, when you're injured, when you're distracted. So the whole concept of, facing somebody on equal terms, it's not going to be. and they're going to be stacked against you because, again, they're picking the time and the place of opportunity, not you. And they're going to choose a time that's most advantageous to them. So understand that. So when when you're thinking about, well, I need to be a certain level of fitness to do this. I need to be, I need to have, really dedicate nonsense. Okay. This is stuff you need to be doing this now. And you can do it in, small increments, 5 minutes, 10 minutes here or there, as opposed to, this whole massive, immersion, like you would be taking a yoga class or a Pilates class or a martial arts class.
That's right. Next, we need to always assume that they have weapons and that there's multiples. We teach that right from the very beginning. Always assume.
Every situation is like this, bottom line. And, the other thing that confuses people is that you can only handle one thing that's right in front of you. And that's the absolute truth. We're not, shifting. We're not multitaskers. We're serial processors. We have the ability to jump from one thing right to the next, but that thing gets our complete attention. I mean, read the newspaper or read your phone and, pour a cup of coffee at the same time and pay full attention to reading your phone. Find out later where your coffee goes. So, you've got to accept this. And the way we combat that is through our movement, is through our technique, and it's through our tactics that, enable us to keep moving forward and taking ground, that enable us to, block and cover at the same time, that enable us to constantly keep our target off balance when we're attacking or escaping. These are the things that take these things into account. Like, one of the things that's very important is just say, get off the X. You're being ambushed at that time and place, picked by your attacker. So get off the X means you're right when they make first contact with you. That's X marks the spot. That's where they want you. So the more that you can move out of that area, the farther and faster you can get out of there, the better. So always move off the X. And which brings us to our last and final point on this, George.
Yeah, is understand that the environment is more than likely going to benefit your attacker. If they're going to pick that environment, whether it's dark, secluded, weapons of opportunity around there, it's going to favor them. So.
I mean, it can take place anywhere. Like, look, when you're practicing these things in the gym, which is sometimes you have some mats, you got plenty of space, you've got a partner that is wanting you to succeed. Look around you wherever you are. You normally can't go 10 feet without running into something, hitting a change of elevation. There's, again, not even taking into consideration snow, rocks, debris, curbs, cars, you name it. Wherever you go, whether it's your office or your living room, there's something that's going to trip, hurt, so you've got to move in a way. This is why, for example, we use footwork where we're constantly lifting and stomping our feet. There are multiple benefits to it, but one of them is, like, if we step on something when we're stomping straight down, it doesn't matter because our weight is coming down straight on it. We can maintain our balance, and then we can deal with it. So that alone, goes miles. I mean, when you're working in a gym and you're on a mat, you're sliding your feet and you're moving around in this way, it's not realistic, and that's not the real world. So right away, just by stopping your feet, taking ground, moving forward, getting off the X, driving from a position of advantage through your opponent or your target, that takes care of pretty much everything on this list. And you learn that's the beginning. That's 101, and that stays constant throughout your training. Always got to do that. And, and again, we're not getting hung up with somebody. We're not grappling with somebody, unless we're in a grappling situation. We're still not grappling, but we're dealing with it to improve our position, to get to a place where we can continue to move, assault, advance or escape.
Right. All right. So, guys, there's two elements that we teach when it comes to self-protection. First of all, it's going to be your street smarts or your soft skills, understanding, awareness, how to manage the situation, using your voice, posturing, things like that. The second thing is going to be your hard skills. We have both proactive and reactive. When I talk about hard skills are your physical tools.
Right. I mean, that's it. So you're looking at awareness, interacting with your environment, make yourself a hard target, and then the hard skills are what you traditionally think of when you think of self-defense, the striking, the weapons, and things of that nature.
All right. So our game plan, the self-defense company's game plan or stages of action are quite simple. Number one, be your own cop. Number two, be your own bodyguard. Number three, be your own hitman. So when we say be your own cop, we mean simply that. Act as if you're an on-duty officer. Eyes are always up. Look around. Make eye contact with people. Walk with confidence. When we say make eye contact, don't stare at them for 5 minutes straight in the eyes, but acknowledge them, right? Live above your shoulders.
Perfect.
When we talk about being your own bodyguard, we talk about protecting yourself. Don't let anybody into your personal space. Be your own hitman is do whatever you need to do in order to end that threat so that you can get back home to your loved ones.
So essentially, you're almost looking at, there are three stages, or like three phases. So again, use these because, when you get to that, again, like George, just like you said perfectly, being aware, living above your shoulders. I love that. Think of yourself on patrol, right? You're looking, you're just being aware, you're looking around. I mean, next, then when you're moving into being your own bodyguard, you're protecting yourself, you're protecting others, you're avoiding danger. As a bodyguard, our job isn't necessarily, our first and foremost primary is the subject. It's like we have to get our principal safely out of there done, right? So there's a threat, they go. And then, so that's our first level of our second level of tactical self-defense. Obviously, we're moving to awareness, we're moving to escape and evasion, and then finally we're moving to be your own hitman, which is like when you do decide and you need to do whatever it takes, this is the attitude you must adopt. We would love to say, look, if somebody's trying to murder or rape you, I mean, this is what we're talking about here. I would love to be like in the most humane way possible that, we could do something where, they would just get discouraged, see the error of their ways and go about their lives. But the fact is, this isn't how life works. These people are broken. There's something wrong with them. You can't project your feelings and your emotions onto them because they're operating from a completely different world. They're doing things you would never think of doing. So if they're doing things you would never think of doing to another human being, then how can you handle them in a way that you personally would respond to? Because you're not. Your guys are operating from two different value systems, two different worlds. So when you do decide to make that, your absolute best chance of survival when using force is to go with ruthless aggression. Now, every one of these phases is harder to do and takes more time and more training. So, being your own cop, it's easy. Stuff like that you can do immediately. Being your own bodyguard takes a little bit more time. And then being your own hitman takes a lot more time. That takes more training. That takes more commitment. It's not that you can't do it, but again, you're looking at, going down the path here. So, first and foremost, most of the stuff is going to be, if you're looking at an inverted funnel or just a funnel, top of the funnel, be your own cop. That's going to be handle most of the stuff. Be your own bodyguard is going to handle the next, and then be your own hitman is going to handle the final end of it. So, know that going through this, that each of those requires, different levels of training and a higher level skill set.
So what does every criminal look for? Well, they all look for the same three things. First thing they look for is some kind of weakness, whether that weakness is a physical weakness or a mental weakness. Predators always seek out weaker prey. Second thing that people will look for is whether you're switched off or not. By switched off, simply mean that you're just not paying attention to what's going on in the environment. Maybe you just had a long day at work, the boss just reamed you out, you're thinking about what you're going to make when you get home with kids yelling and screaming. You're just not paying attention to what's around you. Third thing is that you're alone. And we say this to women a lot of the times. If you're going out, or even guys, if you're going out as a group to a bar, you go together, guess what? Leave together. Don't stay back while everybody else leaves and then go wandering off by yourself after, because that's opportunity for, whoever might be out there looking.
Exactly. I mean, you got to look at this again. This is not the competitive analysis. This is the predator-prey relationship. So they're looking, a predator looking for again, anyone, sexual predator, someone who's familiar with you, someone who's not. They're looking for the weakest link. They're looking to get what they want from somebody with the minimum, or without being caught, injured, or identified. So the studies show that the overwhelming majority of people who are assaulted are alone, like it's like damn well over 90%. So know you're going to be alone, and less than 6% of the time sexual assaults get stopped by outside intervention. So, I mean, you're on your own. I mean, there's no way around it. So that's also one of the reasons why we like when a large component of your training is on your own, because it teaches you to self-motivate yourself. It teaches you to, assume the responsibility of this. I mean, we're great. We'll do whatever you want. We'll coach you and train you. But there's a component of this where you need to, own it and incorporate it in your everyday life. I mean, switched off is obvious. I mean, if you're not paying attention, people can close the distance on you. This is all about managing your space again, right? You're distracted. You've got, you've got a ton of bags. You're not paying attention. You're trying to find your keys, whatever. And weakness is just that. And like, you don't, you're presenting yourself as, perhaps you're looking down, your body language. I mean, everything, it's all about body language. I mean, just right now, just if you walked with your head up and your chest out and looked around and made casual eye contact, like we like to say, counting hats or looking for bald people or people with hair, either one. So you're just counting heads and looking around. I mean, that, presents a harder target and an awareness. So when you're just making that casual eye contact, look, boom, identified, right? Now somebody looked at you, and these are predators. So these are people who are sizing you up, and they know what to look for. And if you look like you're going to be a problem, they may pick someone else. But if you're wearing, a $50,000 Rolex, or have, a couple $100 hanging out of your pocket, they may push the issue and, risk a little more to get them.
But, just to touch on one thing really, really quickly, one expression that I love to use with everybody is, if you look like food, you're going to get eaten. So
right.
Understand that one. Right. Now, we talked about this in the last slide. Actually, we got what every criminal fears.
Man. So yeah, I said I'll say this a million times, and you got to get it in your head, and we'll say it a million more. But this is your advantage over them. That's it. If they didn't think they're going to get away with it, if they didn't think they would get hurt, they're going to do it.
That's right. So, principles of self-defense or close quarter battle. What we need to do, guys, we need to use speed, surprise, and violence of action. So what do I mean by that? Well, Carl Sestari had this saying, do your worst fast and first. What you need to do with speed. It's a surprise to them. You feigned compliancy. They don't think that you want to fight. They think that you're prey. So they're surprised by this action, and this action needs to be violent.
The violence comes from training with 100% force and 100% conviction. And this is the problem, and this is why I go at it with a lot of people when it comes to training with a partner. You can supplement some of your training with that. I'm not saying no, but the fact is, you really got to destroy or whatever. I mean, even if it's pepper spray, right? I mean, you got to squeeze it. You got to do it fast. You got to do it first, and you got to go with, neither here nor there. Like in Karate Kid, karate do, karate don't do. In the middle, squished like grape, right? So First Karate Kid, not the second one. The original with Pat Morita. So anyway, you want to, and this is it. So, a lot of your training is to go from that point of, is he going to do something, to, holy shit, I have to do something. Now, while you have an oh shit moment, an oh crap moment, you are, so are they. They're not expecting you to do something. If they expected you to do something, and this is what I have to drive home, like if we're doing a defense and someone's like, could you do that again? I want to try something. And I know, to quote the late Charlie Nelson, I only have to do it once. It only has to work once. Because if you approach me in a way where, as an attacker, if you approach me in a way where, well, if he does this, he's going to do something, he's going to defend against it, then you wouldn't approach that way. You wouldn't counter it. You would pick a completely different tact to get there. And again, this is where we get out of that, where we're getting that overflow of that martial arts competitive mindset. Well, if he does this, I'll just counter it with this. No, you got to take it one step back. If he does this and he thinks you're going to resist, he ain't going to do this. He's going to do something else. He's going to do something that he thinks will do this: speed, surprise, and violence of action. Because while we're trying to do that to them, they want to do this to us. So, they're not expecting, attack, counter, recounter. They're expecting fucking attack, success, attack, submission, success. And that's it. So once we screw up their calculus, then they start. And most times with, your everyday criminal, or even someone who's not particularly targeting you. Well, I mean, no, even I would say with, even serial killers as well. As soon as you react a different way, as soon as you don't look like food, that starts to, change their calculus a little bit. And especially like everyday criminals, they're not going to want to be bothered. They're not going to sit there and want to go 12 rounds with you. They're going to be like, oh, fuck this. All right, I'm going to the next one.
So our self-defense objectives are simple. Number one is awareness and threat recognition. You can do this right away, guys, just by living above your shoulders, just by being aware of what's out there. How can you defend against something? How can you deal with something if you don't see it coming, right? So awareness and threat recognition is number one. Employ good situational control. It's covered in module 1. Understanding, distance, balance, momentum, position, hands up, using your voice, understanding posture, some of the resources we're going to talk about very soon. Next is being preemptive, doing it explosively with impact and attitude. Preemption is the key. Hit that person before they hit you, or else now you're having to defend, be more defensive, and flip it to a more counter-offensive, standpoint, which we'll talk about shortly. And last thing is keep going until that threat subsides. Don't hit the person once and then stand back and admire your, handiwork, because we don't know what they're going to do. I might hit you, you might drop like a ton of bricks. I might hit you, you can take a step back, wipe blood off your mouth and decide, you know what, fuck this, I don't want anything more. Or you might turn into the Antichrist. We don't know. As long as you're standing, you're still a threat. So we need to keep going, keep dealing with it until you are no longer a threat.
Yeah, I mean, a couple things, two I want to focus on is the preemptive explosively. Don't wait for them to attack ever. Okay, so, and I say, like, don't wait for them to attack, like, don't wait for them to actually do a punch or a stab or a grab or whatever the hell it is, that how you practice in traditional martial arts self-defense. Because first off, by the time they do that, you're already lost. It's not just going to be one attack. It's going to be a barrage of attacks, and they're going to be all over you, and they're going to try to do to you what you want to do to them, or maybe worse. So as soon as you give them and you wait for it, you're putting yourself at a severe disadvantage. Now, what we're saying is just take it back a step or two, where now we've established a distance where now if that punch turns into, every assault turns into a shift in their weight. So this is what we mean by preemptive. And Attack to us starts with the size up. As soon as they're observing you and thinking about doing something to you that is, that you don't want done to you, that's where the attack starts. It's their intention. That's the beginning of the attack. And that's all you have to prove in a court of law, by the way, is intent. Is intent. And then you have to respond with reasonable force. If you hit them a bunch of times and they knock them out, okay, great. If you continue to stop them, not so good. Right? So and again, depending on your situation, if we're dealing with somebody who's in law enforcement, military security, and they have to deal with somebody, we're going to train a different way. They're going to have teams of people. They're not going to be on their own. As a civilian, all you need to do is stop the threat, and escape.
Right.
So you don't need to stick around. You don't need to do anything. I mean, you have an altercation with somebody, I'm going to tell you to leave immediately. And this brings into, the last topic, and I've used this example before. I've known two situations personally of people who have gotten into a fight with somebody, shook hands on it, and then wound up dead later because the person was pissed off and decided to stab him. All right? Two people. So, once you get, it's never over. It's never over until you're home and in your bed. And then that person is someone you got to pay attention to and keep on your list. And if they know who you are, it can be managed a little differently. But if this is, again, somebody who knows, you don't know what's going on out there. One of the situations I'm talking about, the guy was just paroled. So he was on a furlough program in Massachusetts, and he got let out before. It's not that it would have stopped him, but they got into a fight. Guy that knew was a wrestler tuned him up a little bit, and then that was it. They shook hands, and then the guy appeared to leave. My guy continued to drink, hung out, and got attacked in the parking lot and stabbed. So he's dead. And there's a memorial outside our church. So, it's never over. Never over.
All right. So the very first thing that we teach is this AWARE model. And AWARE stands for the following: be alert and watch. From there, make sure that you're assessing the situation. So you've observed, we also, talk about the OODA loop here. So you've observed and you've orientated to what is happening, assessing what is happening. From here, you're going to react by doing, whatever it is that you are going to be doing, and then execute that. So there are steps that we need to take when we face a confrontation. This is how, our brain is going to feed information to our body to be able to respond. We need to go through these steps. And there's going to be a disparity, because the individual who is attacking you is already on execute. We're going through these different steps. So there's a mathematical issue here.
Well, hopefully with alert, you can catch him in the watch and assess stage.
That's right. As an example, you're walking down the street, you see a person standing, 20 yards away from you. No reason to be there. He's kind of looking around, looks a little bit shady. You've immediately, okay, I've seen it. I've watched him. I've assessed this guy looks like a problem. My reaction is going to be, I'm just going to turn around, go the other way. I execute it. I turn around, I go. That's how this process works. But understand, they're doing the exact same thing as well. They're alert. They're watching. They see you coming. They're assessing, this individual looks like he could be prey. I'm going to go and do what I'm going to do. And they execute that plan. So we want our awareness system to be faster than potential attackers or subjects.
Yeah, we call this size up, right? So you're, looking at the situation, you're paying attention. And now what specifically can we look for? For example, the other night, I'm coming through Penn Station with my son. We went to a basketball game. And so I'm like, look at the crowd. I'm like, you're looking around. I go, what you're looking for are people who are not acting like everybody else. Typically, they're going to be alone. They're going to be intense and nervous. Their body language will be different. They'll be a little stiffer. they'll just move a little differently depending on what type of criminal they are. If it's like a terrorist or an active shooter, typically they're going to be a lot more intense. They're going to be very stiff. On the other hand, if it's like someone who's just doing street crime, they're just a shark kind of patrolling the waters. You watch, they kind of they're blending in, but they're not. You're looking at, most people are distracted. They're on their phones. They're into themselves. They're not really kind of up and looking around. The predators are predators. They're hunting. So they're looking around, right? They're aware of their environment, and they're going to look somewhat similar to what you're doing. Like I said, like George said, don't act like food. Act like predator. They're going to be looking around. And as long as you are aware of them, that's what we want. You can't go up and tune up a guy or call the police because someone is paying attention to their surroundings, right? But what you can do is just mark them and be aware of them. So they may be an off-duty cop, they may be somebody in the military, who knows? They may be somebody like you who's trained and aware, and a sheepdog as well. But it might not be. There could be a wolf. So that's, you're looking for anomalies among the sheep, right? Sheep are acting one way, predators acting another way.
And why this is so important to just touch on really, really quickly as well, guys, is how many times do you hear after an assault happens, they interview the victim, and the first thing the victim says is, I don't know what happened. They just appeared out of nowhere. Well, they didn't, because nobody ever does. So that's why that aware model is so important. Another model that we obviously
sorry, and I wanted to. This is also what I wanted to do, George. I'm sorry. There's a book, Gavin de Becker's Fear, Gift of Fear. It's really, really good. He talks about criminals sizing people up, and people will always be like, because they're like, oh, I saw that car 3 times today. I really didn't think anything of it. Or I saw that guy who was hanging around. He looked familiar to me, but I didn't know. Next thing I know, he's helping me bring my groceries in my house. So, again, these attackers, and these perpetrators don't appear out of nowhere. They just don't immediately decide, show up and start, and decide, okay, I'm going to mug this person. No, they're going to look, they're going to watch. Same thing with active shooters and terrorists. They're going to look for an opportunity. They're going to wait. They're going to think of their planning. They're going to have a plan that's going to be going through their head, and it never goes according to plan. Okay, just like you, they have plans that don't work out exactly the way they planned it. But still, now, even the kid coming into the Aurora Theater, way back when. He's dressed in like full body armor. He's got all kinds of weaponry. Nobody saw this guy. I'm just saying, I'm like, where he didn't just show up in the theater and decide to go to the men's room with a duffel bag, even if he had a duffel bag, and start getting dressed. I'm like, somebody had to have seen this guy. So he's at the Batman premiere. Holy Christ. Cripes. Sorry. So anyway, let's get to your color code.
Yeah. So this is just another model that we employ. We won't spend a whole lot of time on it, but you see it everywhere. But Cooper's color code is just varying levels of preparation, how you're going to respond during, situations. Never live in white. White is completely unprepared, unready to take any kind of action. The only time you're ever in white is when you're asleep or you're home, with the wife and kids watching TV. You got your feet up on the table, having a beer. You might be in white, but as soon as something happens, knock on door, phone rings, whatever, you're just going to flip to yellow. This is where you want to live the majority of your life. Prepared, alert, but a relaxed alert. Good situational awareness. Orange, you're alerted to some kind of something is just kind of setting you off a little bit. There could be a potential problem, so you're just aware of that. Red, you're taking action. You're focused on that event. Black is just breakdown, right? This was added after the fact. It's just complete shutdown.
Right. And this is goes along with this is basically the red and black or SNS activation, your sympathetic nervous system activation. So what happens is you've got your hormone-induced heart rate. It's different than physical fitness exercise heart rate. It is something that you can't control. You can only kind of breathe, and training can channel it. And that's why, what happens to your body under stress. This is why the complicated moves don't work. This is why you get, you get tunnel vision, you get auditory exclusion, you get all kinds of stuff that happens that get you ready for battle. Our bodies are designed to react. Fear is the trigger. And then, real belief and fear. It's like you can't really replicate it in the dojo. You can disorient, you can anger, but, and you can create frustration and simulate some of this stuff. But for the most part, you can't, you react differently when you think you're going to die. Right. And, so you have to train it and prepare in a manner that takes that into consideration. And this, again, why the competitive model and the martial arts model of self-defense doesn't work, which would be specific defenses, complex defenses, attack, reaction, defense. It just doesn't work that way. We think in bigger blocks when we're under fight or flight stress.
And just a quick model to demonstrate that, you were just talking about the heart rate. Condition white and yellow, you've got your heart rate is normal. Orange, you start to see that elevation. Red, that heart rate between 115, 145 beats per minute. That's when you start to experience some of that breakdown that you were just talking about. Those psychological and physiological things begin to happen. And then, of course, your heart rate exceeds 175 to 200 beats per minute, and you just go into complete shutdown. So here's our threat response options. These are the options that are available to you whenever you, are potentially going to engage in some kind of assault. First and best one is to escape. If you could escape, you best be doing that. There's no reason for you to engage in a physical altercation if you could have escaped. Second option would be verbal dissuasion, if that's possible. Third, partial submission. This is, where you're starting to realize that you're probably going to have to be preemptive. So you're starting to kind of fake that submission.
Well, I just as a point too, back in the day when we used to go in the city, you used to always carry your mugging money. So you would put an extra 20 or 10 in your pocket. And then if somebody were come up to you, here's $20.
Yeah.
And they go. So that would be a partial submission. And then once they want more from you, you need to have a line in the sand. Okay. Because like I said, we talked about before, they're going to be testing you. So they're going to see what they can get away with, and they're going to get the most out of you. Some people will be well, he just wants my wallet. I'm a reasonable person. I'll just give him my wallet. But in reality, you don't, that person, you don't know what they're thinking, because again, you're projecting your values onto a situation that you would never ever do or even think about doing to another human being. So a lot of times they're okay, well, I got his wallet. Well, maybe I get his car keys. Well, maybe I get him to drive me to his house. Well, maybe I'll get him, these are guys that do home invasion, or family in Connecticut where, the mom was followed from an ATM and brought back to the house, and the whole family was brutalized. You don't know what you're dealing with. And these people may have not been shown any violence in their past that you know of, or that they've been convicted of. So, you don't know what you're dealing with. So it's all about what you're willing to do and control. So, the one thing I need to bring up here is never, ever, ever go any place with any assailant or any attacker, no how convincing they are. Don't give them a ride. Don't get in a car. Don't walk. Because from point A, crime scene 1, the reason they need you to move, even if they've got a gun to your head, screw it. You're not going. You fight there. Because the reason they need you to move is because they can't do what they need to do to you there. So that's where your fight starts. And that's where it ends. Crime scene 2, where they're taking you, you're not coming back from alive.
Right.
So you're dead. All right. No matter, again, it's not the movies. These are people who are evil and broken. And that's that.
That's right. Next would be posturing. Next would be posturing. And when we talk about posturing is not always the best thing to do, because it could go one of two ways. But the idea is now you're giving them some kind of option combined with a consequence if they do not do what you say. So, kind of a back the fuck off or else, right?
Right.
So if you hit the posturing point, you better be ready to put your money where your mouth is and back up, what you say you're going to do. So you get into that, into that mindset. And then last is to physically fight back.
I would say, if you can escape, verbal dissuasion or resistance and then fight back, I mean, these are like probably your best options because, once you start getting into partial submission or posturing, posturing is interesting because you're putting yourself in a position where, you may, they may, call you out. One, which is not even, but two is you're letting them know that you're willing to fight back. So you posture, right? And they say, "Oh no, I don't have a problem," and then they turn around and they get they pull out a knife and then they put it through your ribs.
Right.
So by posturing, you're letting them know you're willing to do something. We like to think, if you can put posturing back into like how you carry yourself, that will go a long way. But then typically when somebody, approaches me, depending on the situation, it's, "Oh, sorry, get out, don't want a problem." And then, I know what I'm going to do or what I'm willing to do to get out of that.
So the available resources in order to, meet those options are the following. Awareness. We've talked about this the whole time. Confident body language, right? Instincts. This is a big one. Always trust your instincts. Women especially have amazing instincts, but don't always, follow them. So we say it to kids, say to it, say everybody.
Well, I will say that, and George, that was very sexist what you said.
I'm sorry.
So, but listen, we all have different, pluses and minuses. So when I say that, yeah, listening to that little voice in your head, trusting your instincts, trusting your gut, we're far more perceptive than we feel. If something feels wrong, it is wrong. So then that's it. Then just leave, react, have a plan, and it's escape. Don't worry about, hurting somebody's feelings. Don't worry about being embarrassed. Don't worry about overreacting. No such thing. All right. So if you're interacting with somebody and they give you that uneasy feeling and you're like, "Excuse me, I just have to go now," and you go, so what? That's it. Worst case scenario, I mean, best case scenario, they really were just, not, they're rubbing you the wrong way, and that's it. And, worst case scenario, it was a predator that was, trying to, size you up.
Next is learn how to use your voice. No is a complete sentence, guys, right? So practice that, incorporate that into your training, that verbal side of things. Running, which is the first part of your physical tools or your physical skill set, and then physical tools, weapons. By physical tools, it's anything that I can do with my hands or put into my hands and use in order to deal with the situation.
Yeah, using your resources and everything that's around you. Why would I mean? One of the things I always chuckle at is that we're all into like putting weaponry around our homes to have it accessible, but someone will run through the kitchen, which is chock full of weapons, to go get the Kubaton they stored in a drawer or some shit, right? So kind of like as you're looking around wherever you work and play and live, look at like what could be used as a weapon: the chair, the glass bottle, what's on my desk. Just look around you and think about what you would use and how you would use it just when you walk into a room. The other thing is you always look for two ways out of every room. How do I get out of here if I couldn't get out the door? Works good for a fire too. So every room, two ways out, and plan on, if something does happen, going out the second exit. Don't go out the way you came in, because if shit goes down, like there's an active shooter, and everybody's going to run out to the front door the way they came. You go against the grain, get out another exit and go. And they're going to plan on that as well. So, you know, these are just things that, really simple, actionable things you can do is, find that other, what you can use around you and getting that other exit.
All right, so Miyamoto Musashi wrote quite a few books actually, but in one of them he talks about his 3 preemptions. The important thing to remember with with being preemptive is try and hit him before he even thinks about hitting you. That's the best time to respond. Second best time would be hit him as he thinks about hitting you. Third would be hit him as soon as he twitches or gives you that shift of weight.
Musashi was a great street fighter. I mean,
Yeah.
he is the sword saint of Japan. I'm sure like many martial artists have made him into something. See, I think he's beautiful, but they would take it in some, Bushido fantasy that they got going on. And you know what? He wasn't even about that. I mean, his one of a couple, like he is a great way of, mind screwing with people. I mean, he had one duel, a 12-year-old. I mean, he was a grown man. 12-year-old challenged him to a duel. And he said, okay, they're set to meet at a specific time and place. He showed up early, a few hours earlier, and ambushed the kid on the way to the fucking duel. Right? I mean, it's because as soon as you make that challenge, it's on. Right? I mean, we're talking about life or death here. So, as soon as you make your intentions known, you better be ready. And if you're not, then it's your fault. I mean, the one of his favorite quotes, it's most regrettable to die with the sword still in its sheath. So, you got to be ready to roll. And the other story I love is the one with Kojiro, who he meant to, so they booked it, they had the dual date set on a small island, and Kojiro was waiting for him there. And of course, Musashi blows him off one day, 2 days, and the third day they finally send someone to go get him. And Musashi, reluctantly shows up, comes up on the beach. Now, at this point, Kojiro is so pissed off because, again, he's samurai. He's like very elitist, pompous, angered, and, completely out of his game. And then Musashi came in and took, some say an oar that he fashioned. Others say he took a bokken or a subarito, which is a training sword, which looks like a big, thick wooden kind of oar. Comes off the beach, screams at him and just like bludgeons him with the thing, and then yells some curses and gets back on the boat and goes back to wherever the hell he was staying. So, I mean, here's a guy who clearly understood what it took to win in the street, period. So, that being said, I mean, these are things this is the guy who is the sword saint of Japan, right? I mean, I don't know how many, dozens of actual duels he survived. And yeah, and this is it. Hit him before he even thinks about hitting you. Exactly.
All right, so John Lofty Wiseman, who was a trainer for the SAS, he had actually put together a model for self-protection. And this is the model here that whether it's law enforcement, military, civilians, we all, adhere to this. Most important part, the foundation, is mindset. 90%, guys, is mindset. 10% is skill set. So, like any good house, any good building, the foundation is always that, solid. It's at the bottom. It's the most important thing. Tactics would refer to your game plan. So in our case, it's that be your own cop, be your own bodyguard, be your own hitman. Next is your skill set, which is your physical skills, your physical tools, followed by the kit. And the kit is the icing on the cake, or on top of the cake, right? The cherry on top. That refers to your carry conceal weapon, right? A lot of people are like, well, I'll just use my gun. Well, your gun isn't going to be, you can't use that for every bloody thing. And by the time you figure out you could have used it, it's probably too late anyways. So other examples of kit would be like change, to get to take a taxi to get out of somewhere, your cell phone for communication. That all falls into kit. Anything that you want to touch on this with this?
Yes, I love this. Because you always said, tactics come first. I mean, your mindset is really, it's more, this is all about, it was more will than skill.
Yes.
So you're channeling your will to survive and protect. Your mindset is that, and anyone who, look, thousands of people every year survive violent assaults without any training whatsoever and against known convicted criminals. Okay. The one thing they all have in common is that there comes a point where they decided enough was enough. I wasn't going to let them kill me. I wasn't going to let them get to my kids. I wasn't going to let them, rape me. One of my good friends, Jeff, got carjacked. He got shot in the thigh. I posted this about a while back. Jeff's a thick dude. It's interesting that he, I'm shocked that considering what else was around, but this is broad daylight, 5:30 p.m., summer, Atlanta. He's working, interesting enough, he's a pyrotechnics guy, special effects guy. So he's down there filling up at the pump, and two kids come up to him. One, distracts him. And then another one comes up, puts a gun to his fucking head. It's like, give me your keys. And he's like, I'm not going to die like this. Not today, not now. So he cleared the weapon and then just like hit the kid. And then as soon as he resisted, the kid, they were kind of wrestling over the weapon. I didn't train Jeff. I mean, Jeff did something that he thought he saw in a movie, like no shit. So anyway, gun goes off. The kid fires a gun. It hits him in the thigh, just kind of grazes him. Then the kid kind of like the gun goes flying. So the kids go to the gun. Jeff takes off. And then he's like, he walks, and it's a crowded gas station. He walks across. Anyway, he turns, the kids are gone. They're gone. So again, kept his car, got a wound. But the point is, it's like he decided, not today, not now. And then moving up, tactics always come first. The techniques and the tools are secondary. You can't put your tool in front of the tactics. We've got, action is faster than reaction. We're like non-specific, skill sets, breaking every situation down to position and distance, taking ground, always be where he's standing, using techniques that work within self-defense, SNS or sympathetic nervous system activation, the fight or flight, knowing that, trying to, doing things that I can perform under that stress, injuring him more than injuring myself with my attacks. All of these things, fit into this, are based, the rest of the skill set, look, whether you use an edge of hand or punch them, we've got reasons why we teach one or the over the other in certain parts of the training, but still, it gives a crap. If you're a freaking boxer, I'm not going to tell you not to box, right? I mean, okay, so do what you feel comfortable with when you get to that level, and then your kit, yeah, you carry a firearm, you carry pepper spray, you carry edged weapons. Yeah, you've got all these things that are great tools, but they're not like, you're not going to reach for them right away. You're not going to go there right away without the willingness to use them, the mindset, without the tactics based on, close combat, and without obviously the skills to implement them. The tools don't mean anything. I mean, guys that, listen, you can be a fast draw, you can go down, by the time you realize it takes, you're going to need use of force or deadly use of force is going to be justified. For civilians, it's a long, you either have to be a third-party intervention where you see a guy with a firearm out shooting, about to or threatening, someone, or, you're in a conflict where, oh my God, this guy's going to kill me. Now I got to get to my gun. Well, it's too late. You got to, hope that you get an opportunity to pull that weapon. If not, you're going to you're going to fail.
So let's just discuss the use of force principles. The principles that we use here include closest weapon to nearest target. We use incidental striking. Everything should hurt. And if we're engaging clinching somebody, for example, I'm hitting that person as I'm clinching them. This is not just like a normal Muay Thai clinch. High-low attack is
Hey, big
another.
up to Conor McGregor using the shoulder spike. Sorry.
So,
that was awesome. But yeah, that's what we've been doing that for freaking 15, 20 years.
Now every MMA fighter in the world is starting to train the shoulder slam after that Conor McGregor fight, right?
Exactly.
High-low attack. Pretty straightforward, guys. High line, anything above the collarbone, 360 degrees around the dome. Low line, belt buckle, and below. Switch between the two. Hit the guy, right? Go high, go low. Disrupt the computer. We also utilize flanking, which just means moving off to their side back. When I teach flanking, I teach moving to either 2 o'clock or 10 o'clock, right? But the idea is just to get out of being directly in front of them. Next is the use of artifice or deception. If they use it against us, we should understand how it can be used against us and also how to use it against them. And last is a concept or a principle known as branching. And what branching is, and you see it all the time, is if I'm hitting you and I'm hitting you in the head, and you're covered up, and I keep hitting you in the head, hitting you in the head, and I'm not getting anywhere with it, it's like beating a bloody dead horse, right? I'll move to something else. I'll branch to another technique. I could clear what I'm doing, or I could just go low line, right? Sometimes you see it in combat sports where somebody's just kneeing and just keeps kneeing and keeps kneeing. The guy's got his hand, he's blocking the knee over and over, and just keeps doing the same thing because he's in that loop. Get out of that loop.
If you're attacking, I mean, again, we always say there's two people in any altercation: the person attacking and the person being attacked. That's it. If you're attacking and you're the other and the other person is blocking and covering up, you should destroy them, right? I mean, again, just like you said, if I can't move it out of the way and clear it and hammer it, great, I'll hit something else. Again, this comes from your training where you're going through, you're doing those 30-second minute bursts of trying to hit this thing as much and as hard as you can and get yourself as tired as you can, because that's what you're going to do when you're fighting. Or, again, closest weapon near target, again, this is it, man. Hand, if it's near your mouth, bite it. If it's, if your finger's near it, gouge it, rip it. Again, we all go through this systematically through our training. And again, this is where we're installing these and hardwiring these into your system so that you don't have to think about it. And it gets back also to the mindset. When you be your own hitman, you're going to be willing to do whatever it takes, period. So, again, these are our tactics. We keep piling these and layering these on. And this is, everything that you're doing applies to every situation.
So let's quickly talk about the ground. There's 4 main reasons why we want to avoid going to the ground. Like we said before, always assume they've got friends. Always assume they've got weapons. That right there is huge reason not to go to the ground. Next is the environment. When you're training in the dojo, you got the padded room, padded floor. You're going to be fine. You're going to be okay. Out in the real world, you got glass, debris, all kinds of shit, curbs. It's very unforgiving. You do not want to go down to the ground, Plus, there's weapons that they can use that are, available to them. And last would be your physical ability. You got to take that into consideration as well.
Yeah, the more physical contact you have with somebody, whether you're, grappling or anything, the more their ability, strength, size, and comes into and fitness come into play. So we try to avoid this. We avoid the ground whenever possible, just because it complicates things. Never choose the ground. Ever choose the ground. Methods that do that are not tactically sound, and this is no disparaging remark against people that do them, because again, I'm a grappler. Judo, wrestling, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, I enjoy it very much. great stuff. I don't teach it for self-defense. I mean, it's nice as an adjunct to it because it's great workout. It's, you can get into the intricacies of it. You can compete a little bit. It's great. It's great, but it's not, you can't adapt it to self-defense. Can you defend yourself with it? Sure. Of course. I have before I knew this stuff. But, now would I? No, not at all. Not at all. If it is a life or death situation with, particularly with somebody I don't know, trying to, assault me or my family, I'm not gonna grapple with them. Oh no. Oh.
Absolutely.
So again, I mean, you want to roll around on the ground with curbs and the streets and glass, be my guest. I'm not. No way. I've done it. It sucks.
Before we move on to edged weapon principles, last thing we're going to talk about here from the empty hand is multiple assailants. And understand when we talk about multiple assailants, we're talking about 2 or 3. Anything 4 or 5 or above, now you're getting into mass assault, right? Gang assault.
I will say, anytime the threat is 1.5 times the force, you're the force, they're the threat, you're going to lose.
Yes.
So, understand that, if you're thinking like you're going to go into a room and beat up like 4 guys like John Wick, good luck. Good luck. Let me know how it works out.
That's right. But, what helps with understanding multiple assailants, and again, it falls back to your awareness and understanding, having pre-threat recognition, is understand the MO of multiple assailants. Generally happens, we're watching CCTV all the time, it generally happens the same way. It always starts with that alpha of the group. He'll stare at you, see you first. From there, there's going to be some kind of group communication as they discuss you. And now that, attention, all of their attention focuses on you. So it goes from one person looking at you to a group stare. You want to catch things long before you hit this. But if you don't see that group stare because you're distracted, you're just, oblivious to what's going on, now you're going to be engaged with some kind of dialogue. Generally, the alpha will start some kind of dialogue, stepping in front of you, arresting your movement where you're not able to get past them. From there, they'll start to triangulate around you, leaving you in the middle. Next, they'll incorporate what we refer to as the hyena principle. The hyena principle is, one person will hit you and you turn to acknowledge them. All of a sudden, now another person hits you. Now you're looking back to them, and then another person hits you. And that'll escalate that wolf pack mentality to an all-out assault, take you to the ground, start putting the fucking boots to you. That's how it's going to play out. And your only, the principles you need to employ, your only hope is going to be, if you didn't see it coming, first of all, and you've engaged in this, you need to respond preemptively. You need to move. Mobility is going to be everything to get away from them, because you don't want to be left in the center of it. It's a bloody war zone. And your mindset, right? That mindset to survive this, because it's going to be a nasty situation.
Yeah, I mean, this is why, again, in module 1, we stress that forward drive, taking ground, getting off the X, because chances are you're not going to see the multiple assailants, right? I mean, maybe, some cases, obviously you do, but you're not going to see the guy that hits you. Now, typically, if you're faced with a couple guys and one guy's doing the talking and one guy's not, the guy to hit first is the one that's not talking. The guy who's talking is too busy talking, and he's not. This is why we ask questions. We get people to get them to communicate to us, because that engages their mind. The guy who's not talking is screwing up the juice to do something. So that's where you go first, and then you get the hell out of there, and don't mess around with being Chuck Norris. Don't do it. Don't do it. Or let's just say John Wick, because poor Chuck. I love him, but getting up there like we all are.
We touched on this a little bit earlier, but it's important to kind of mention it again, was that action reaction theory. So you're the defender, the attacker is the attacker, right? You, first of all, have to perceive that something is actually happening to you. You've realized, oh shit, something is happening. From there, you have to evaluate. Well, what the hell is happening? Is he going to throw a hook? Is he going to, does he have a knife? Does he have a gun? I don't know. You have to evaluate that situation. Once you evaluate it, now you have to decide what you're going to do, and from there you have to act. They have just one action, and that's going to be just to attack. And this is where traditional martial arts, in my opinion, really drops the ball. And without, bad-mouthing martial arts, the challenge lies in if you give 100 different responses to 100 different attacks. Well, while you're evaluating, okay, he's going to throw a right hook, so I'm going to use this kind of block. If he comes with an uppercut, then I'm going to use this kind of. How the hell do you do that, right? This is why within the self-defense company, we have one response for multiple situations or scenarios.
You're looking at, well, there's something called Hick's Law, where
yes,
the more choices you have, the slower your reaction time.
That's right.
So when you're under stress too, you lose that SNS activation. You're losing your cognitive skills.
Right.
So, reasoning is gone, deductive reasoning, obviously being one of them, and your ability to problem solve. So you're trying to, I can know, with fair, if I'm in the ring, I can tell, how somebody's coming at me, how they're kind of setting me up, how their body's leaning. You can do that. On the street, when you're working off a cold start, from somebody who is, you don't know they're going to attack you. You don't know if they're armed. You don't necessarily see a weapon. You don't see friends. I mean, you got all this stuff that I see a right hand attack. I don't know if it's punch. I don't know if it's stab. Maybe I can get it where I can move out of the way and then cover. But the problem is the next attack and the next attack and the next attack. Again, there's the guy getting attacked and there's a guy being attacked. So, we get away with, we solve this with, creating a technique, using a technique like the edge of hand that provides cover and shifts the momentum in our favor. And then we use the footwork, whatever direction we first start to move in from that pie chart, and then we'll move, and then we'll attack the center line of our guy. So, that idea of being able to, diagnose that in a split second when you're dealing in, when you're operating under conditions that you don't know, what the hell they're, what they're doing, right? You can't. And it's like, it's one thing when you're lining up and you're like, okay, we're going to practice wrist grabs. We're going to practice defense to a hook punch. And then even when you practice that randomly, your attacker tips his hand because he wants you to, you kind of, okay, I'm winding up. Okay, this is a punch. It's not a wrist grab. Again, you're already in the mindset where we're practicing self-defense. We're in the dojo, right? You're attacking. I'm defending. I'm going to win. You're going to lose. These are not good circumstances for real tactical training. And in fact, I don't give a crap so much as to what he does as to where he is, right? You're there. Where are you in relation to me? Okay, great. And let's go.
So, edged weapon exposure. 4 ways that a knife can kill you. External bleeding, internal bleeding, collapsed lung, or cardiac injury. Guys, external bleeding is really the only thing that you can sort of self-medicate or self-medically triage yourself.
This is the same way. Oh, by the way,
go ahead.
Sorry to cut you off. This is also the same way you can die from a firearm.
Yes. Right.
Sorry. Sorry.
Yeah. So I mean, paramedics can help with external bleeding. Anything beyond that, you're in surgery, right? So you're really kind of hopeful. So understand what a weapon can do to you, right? Those are the 4 ways.
I also understand that you can take a lot of, unless you're hitting, a major artery, or obviously collapsed lung or, heart, you can take a lot of wounds. Yeah. You can sustain a lot of wounds. So, as we're looking at this and you're like, yeah, I mean, one of the things that I what pisses me off with weapons training is that, or weapons defense is like, as soon as somebody would tap you with a knife, they'd be like, you're dead. It's like, no, I'm not. I'm possibly cut. And I'm definitely going to kill you now. So it's like, no one dies in training because you're going to get cut. You're going to get shot. You're going to get hit. You got to learn to train through it. Again, this is why the training partner thing, it's, it starts to go down this road where knife fighting turns into a game of tag. Right? I'm watching some guys like wrestle with a knife, and I'm like, what the hell is going on? So it's like, it's really, you've got to be able to. I don't care if that happened. I don't care if I got winged or shot or whatever. Chances are you're not going to feel it, and you're able to fight well beyond the injury and the chances of getting fatally injured. I mean, people get stabbed. I mean, you Google this stuff. Look up gunshot wound. Look at if you dare, look up knife wound, and you're going to see people with freaking knives sticking out of their heads that are alive and that have survived. So, it's, it takes, you can take a lot. You can take a lot, especially, again, we talked about that SNS activation. One of the things it does and why you lose control of your gross motor skill, your fine motor skills, is that blood from your extremities goes into your major organs and your lungs.
Right.
And that helps slow down the bleed, stop the bleeding process. Okay, that's part of getting you ready for battle.
And when dealing with that stab that you were just talking about, what happens next is determined by where you're stabbed, how bad you're injured, and the mindset, your ability and mindset to fucking deal with it.
Right. I mean, mindset, again, you see guys that get scraped and they fall over, and look at any Congressional Medal of Honor winner, how much wounds they see, how many bullet wounds or how many stab wounds they sustained and continued to fight and do whatever their job was. It's amazing.
So the 3 E's for edged weapon response, and this stuff actually comes from Peter Robbins, the late Peter Robbins. 3 E's are escape, equalize, and eliminate. Escape obviously being the best one. If you could get away, you have no good reason anyways to engage with somebody who has any kind of weapon. Equalize, grab something that you can use as some kind of equalizer, whether it's we talk about that lion tamer chair, could be a briefcase, something hard, a laptop, something that you could either use as a barrier, a projectile, or a tool, an equal tool, a beer bottle, smash. Now you have some kind of edged weapon that you can utilize as well. And then the last E would just be to eliminate the person. They're showing you lethal force. You should be showing them the same thing in return.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things that, again, you get into knife fighting defenses, typical knife fighting defenses, and the first thing that they talk about, like they force you and they train you. When I say they, I say the traditional martial arts and self-defense world. They train you to force to deal with that guy without anything in your hand and stand there. So immediately you're facing someone who's willing to stab you, and you're, okay, I'm not going to do anything to my advantage. The first thing you do is run and create some space, whether you're running around a desk, a chair, a table, you're getting them off balance. And then you're using whatever's around you, a chair, throwing, glasses at whatever, to distract them and try to injure them. And you're equalizing. Then finally, if you can't escape, you got to deal with that person. And, most 99.999% of all weapons defenses have you standing there against somebody with a weapon. They say go, you defend. And you go move forward, which is insane.
Right.
Insane.
So let's look at the principles that we employ for edged weapon response. This is a dynamic attack that we're talking about here. First thing that you're going to want to do is you're going to want to fend with the back of your arms, rather than just having your hands out and as you would, typically to separate distance, turn the arms, right? This way you're not exposing the vitals. I would much rather take a slash against, the forearms than I would anywhere on the inside of the arms.
Right. We're designed for that.
That's right. And you're protecting what we would call the vital square. houses your, your heart, your organs, that kind of stuff, right?
So one of the things that it's a good thing, this is what we do in module 9 for weapons training, is you're actually use an edged weapon and actually stab and cut with it. And you're going to see that, if you have a long sleeve shirt on, depending, most weapons, saving a box cutter, it's not going to really cut through. It's going to be very difficult. If you're wearing a sweatshirt or a jacket, and also to plunge something into something takes a certain amount of grip and force to do it. And you should also know that to withdraw the knife, if it is stuck in your target, the wound will close on it. So unless there's like bloodletting, or unless you're like twisting, unless you have a good grip on it, this is why I like using weapons with finger holes and things like that, so I can pull it out. It gets sticky, it gets slippery, it closes on the weapon and sucks it in the wound. So there's a lot of things that are happening here other than just randomly just being able to stab somebody multiple times. There's a reason why guys in prison will take it and like wrap up the shiv in their hand, so they don't lose, it doesn't lose that grip. They can withdraw multiple times.
Next principle, and in module 8, we talk about the importance of flanking if we can, moving out, like away from the attack to the side, either to the left or the right. We can only move 4 directions: forward, back, left, or right. If you do not have the option of flanking or getting to the outside, left or right, then you want to get inside the arc of the weapon, moving forward. Last thing you want to do is be moving backwards. So that's what we mean by get inside the arc of the weapon. Final principle would be to counter-offend explosively. Once you've moved in and you've got them, you need to just, like Carlson Story said, do your worst, fast and first at this point. Just beat them down.
Now,
do not try to disarm the individual.
Don't bother. You disarm them by knocking them out.
Yes.
So, and one thing we should know, that all the training and the skills that you learn in the beginning apply right now. We use the same ones. We just apply a clear. We're moving. We still use our footwork. We're moving around an environment. When we're closing the distance on somebody, we still use the same technique. So you don't need to learn something different. How many times? I will tell you, all of the time. When you go learn a weapons defense, it is some complicated, active movement that you never even learned before. Never. It's all brand new. And now you're supposed to use that in a highly, highly stressful situation. Why is it that, and again, looking in traditional martial arts self-defense terms, why a defense to a punch is relatively simple and a defense to a gun to my head is extremely complicated?
Right.
When I got a lot more chance of surviving the punch than I do the weapon to my head. So, this is why it fails. And this is why, it doesn't work. It just doesn't work. Why are, millions of people doing the same crap? I don't know, because they want to believe. Because, if they trained with us for several months as opposed to several years, I don't know, it wouldn't make as much money. I have no idea. So, it's one thing to compete in a sport. You want to do judo, MMA, you want to do awesome, great, do it. I will come watch. I'm a big fan, all that stuff. But, don't start saying I need to do this to use, no. Just, keep it simple. Keep it simple.
And then principles for edged weapon threat, the hold up. And this, again, applies to a firearm. You stated that, not too long ago. Number 1, get hands in the proximity of the weapon. If the weapon's at your head, have your bloody hands up by the weapon. If the weapon is being held to your midsection or groin area, have your hands down lower. You want your hands close to the proximity of the weapon, because when you move from, down here when the gun's up here, and now you're moving, guess what? Action beats reaction. That's your reaction. That gun's going to go off long before you've had any kind of chance. So hands near proximity of the weapon. You want to clear the line of assault. What do I mean by that? Move the weapon away from you, you away from the weapon. Next is seize the weapon bearing limb if you can. You're not always going to be able to. A lot of the times, you're just going to, clear that line, attack the individual, and just keep fucking attacking them. But if you can seize the weapon bearing limb and feel more comfortable doing that, by all means, definitely do that. And then attack continuously with the closest tools to the nearest target. So if I have seized the weapon bearing limb and my hands are tied up, I've got my knees, I've got my head, I've got other tools that I can use.
Yeah, this is extremely important. And when you talk about, like, where you put your hands, like, they can't predict your reaction, so you're going to react how you react, not how you think they want you to react. You understand what I'm saying? Like, if you're like, oh, he wants to put my hands up, I'm like, I don't know, maybe he wants to keep my hands out. Maybe we're like, holy shit, So when you're training, and this is why you train, you practice to put your hands close to the weapon, right? If some guys will, if I'm sitting there, I'm on a subway platform, and guys, comes up to me, he may not want me to even stick my hands up, but you're gonna be like, oh my god, and believe me, you're gonna be like, oh my god. You're not gonna pretend. You're gonna be like, oh my god, you shit yourself. So, clearing the line of assault, obviously important. One of the things that I get from martial artists is that, like, what about you got to control the weapon so it doesn't shoot anybody, bro? I got news for you. All you care about is you not getting killed. Do I want to kill somebody else? Fine. If you're concerned about everybody else, then don't do a damn thing. Just stand there, give him what he wants, and go about your goddamn business or die. Right? So, because I got to tell you, sitting there, control, I can only think, you're going to only think of one thing. And if you can sit there and if you can tell me that with 100% certainty that you're going to be completely of mind and calm and all that, you don't know what you're talking about.
Right.
All right. I mean, this is like, if you've ever felt this or seen this, you do not want, you're going to react in a way where you're going to, it's going to be very, very, very stressful, and you're not going to, you're going to crap yourself. So you might as well do something that gives you the best chance. And, when you think of, like, one mind, one action, not two minds, one action, clear the weapon, attack the man, clear the weapon, attack the man, and attack the man using what you've been doing since day one.
So that covers everything that we wanted to cover there.
Okay, excellent. So, George, as always, a pleasure. I hope everyone finds this little webinar helpful. If you have any comments or questions, as always, email us or post them below. And that's it. I'm going to, anything else, George?
Nothing on my end.
Okay, excellent. Until next time, train honestly.